is Monday, December 14th, 2020. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was yet another non-virtual get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Monday. Certainly felt pretty damn good today. Did a little bit of berimbolo action. And it's been a while. It's been a little while since I've done a berimbolo. And unfortunately, I kept trying to do it like rolling on my head. And it was something where I was like forgetting to tuck my chin deep enough or something like that, and trying to roll it over across my shoulders as opposed to across my head and then my shoulder. So yeah, definitely gonna have to work on that one. But yeah, otherwise it was a productive session, productive training session. Although I gotta say, I kept getting this one thing wrong. Like it starts off with like a knee on belly, and then going from the knee on belly to having like your opponent having you in a quarter guard, and the bottom person is actually the one that does the berimbolo. But the problem that I was having with it is there's a step where you have to put your arm down so you can roll over on that side and flip their legs up. And although on the top position I was having trouble, there's a route to a submission on the top, and you give up the submission on the top so that the person could do the berimbolo on the bottom, at least in the training drill. But one of the things that I kept having trouble with, and I recognized it once while my training associate was demonstrating it, and I fucking couldn't like get my body to do it. And I don't know what was wrong with me that I couldn't. But like there's this part where you do a back step, right? And you got to step back over your opponent's legs with one leg while they still have the ankle tied up of like, say, your right leg, right? And so you got to do a back step on them. Well, there's one thing in there that I saw my training associate doing that I neglected to do, and because of that, every time I ended up on my side, my opponent had his feet crossed, and it makes it impossible, or at least less possible, to reach around and grab that outer leg. And I mean, like, the best you could hope for is that they would like separate their feet so that they could try and post off of their feet and maybe like rotate into you or something like that. And then maybe you might be able to separate the legs and get the outer leg on it. But like I said, I kept bringing it up and they were both crossed, and my opponent did it too. And there's a step in there that I kept missing, and it was bringing the knee of the leg that you backstep with between your opponent's legs and like leaning forward on it. This separates your opponent's legs so that reaching down and grabbing the bottom one is a lot easier. And I think, I'm not entirely certain on that. I'm not certain that was where I was fucking up on it. But anyway, it navigates around to a nice leg lock. Or knee lock? Yeah, kind of like a knee lock. You do like a gable grip right behind your opponent's kneecap and kind of squeeze that into your torso. And I did have a little bit of trouble initially with it until I really noticed my training associate's hand movements. Like, his first hand movement was to get the grip underneath right at the knee, and then hugging that to his upper body, and then reaching down and then bringing the other hand up around like the ankle. And I tried to pay attention to this stuff because, even if it's missed in instruction initially, I tend to pick up the wind, and on this one it seemed like the wind was reach under the knee, hook the knee, pull the leg to the body, and then reach down around the calf, and then up around to the ankle, trapping it at the ankle, okay, and then grabbing the knee from the outside, pulling down on it, then disengaging the hand at the ankle, and getting the grip over the thigh, and then getting the hand grip. Because, I mean, then, like, when you're transitioning from your right hand to your left hand is already right there. And it's already in position to get right up there behind that kneecap and get that nice gable grip in there and just make them tappa. But anyway, I was having just a little bit of difficulty with that, and I think there's something in there with regard to the distancing or managing the distancing with my legs that I think that might be one of the 500,000 ways that I'm fucking up the form and making it not come out the way that my training associate is instructing it. So again, I definitely felt the drive to stay there, but I ducked out at the last minute. And so I am going to try and make it at least 4 times this week again, like I did last week. And that was definitely a bump up for me. You know, by the end of the week I was definitely feeling my age. But you know, I anticipate that kind of energy differential kind of evens out after a while. At least it did in the last place I was training. But I know that getting back out on the mat and doing some rolling will do a lot to hasten that. And I really should have stayed, because they started off doing my training partner started off by wanting to do some stand-up stuff, and I need to work my stand-up. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with some music. And I'm in the mood to break form this morning, or this evening rather. And yeah, here it is. The Giant First Dance, here on Coin Metal by Anthrax. And that was Pantera with Walk. Oh man, I'm gonna have fun on today's episode, because you know, we always talk about things like hacks and central points of failure and all kinds of stuff like that. And so I actually have some material that, in my mind at least, kind of justifies the concern that I do raise on the show, or try to raise. Anyway, I got this thing, it's on Cointelegraph, and this is a little bit off the beaten path of what we're going to be talking about, but it does enunciate some of the advantages that stateless, permissionless cryptocurrencies avail us of in times of need. And so here it is. It's on Cointelegraph, and this is by William Suberg, and it was authored on December 12th, 2020. Verge XVG price get a helping hand as Visa and MasterCard cut off Pornhub. But yes, penis. XVG, the cryptocurrency now infamous for its links to the porn industry, is on the rise again, thanks to a classic fiat money scandal. An adult entertainment giant, Pornhub, confirmed this week payment providers Visa and MasterCard are no longer servicing its payments, leaving only cryptocurrency for its roughly 120 million daily visitors. Quote, crushing news for Pornhub. The reason, the companies say, is questions which remain over Pornhub's handling of illegal content. For MasterCard, the block is permanent, while Visa will continue to monitor its decision. Responding, Pornhub told Associated Press that the allegations were, quote, irresponsible and flagrantly untrue. This news is crushing for the hundreds of thousands of models who rely on our platform for their livelihoods, it added in a statement. Visa and MasterCard following PayPal in shunning the world's biggest porn site, which is now forced to lean exclusively on cryptocurrency payments. Verge steps up to the plate. The move has put a spring in the step of Verge, however. The Dogecoin Dark Fork, which I don't think it's a Dogecoin fork. Anyway, which recently had languished almost unnoticed at near multi-year lows. At press time on December 12th, XVG-USD traded at almost 0.007 cents, having previously marched highs from June. Verge is now the 97th largest cryptocurrency with a total market cap of $112 million. Responding to Pornhub's troubles, Mark Wittenberg of the Verge core marketing team appealed to the stranded models to consider cryptocurrency. Quote, "Our number one focus at Verge Currency is to be a currency," he tweeted on Friday. Quote, "It's our position to be used as one. If any models at Pornhub need assistance in getting familiar with payment options, it's our role as a worldwide community to help out. We should be embracing decentralized payments." Goddamn right. With Pornhub also accepting Bitcoin and Litecoin, while also allowing models to cash out in a small number of other altcoins, Verge's appeal may remain limited. Nonetheless, a payment gateway has already been found for Pornhub's workers. Quote, "We would be happy to help as a decentralized payment option, now payments confirmed." Verge originally partnered with Pornhub back in April of 2018 in a decision which immediately buoyed the altcoin's fortunes as the original, quote, alt season came to an end. At that time, Corey Price, supposedly the site's vice president, described it as an affirmation of our dedication to innovation and privacy, which recently has caused much concern and has been at the forefront of all tech consumers' minds. Goddamn right. Excellent. I think that ultimately Verge and other currencies like it, Monero, Litecoin, that are lower on technical overhead and lower on hardware overhead when it comes to wanting to mine it, I think they're going to be the options that people most readily use. When you consider the just the difference in the amount of block space that Verge has versus Bitcoin, it makes it an obvious choice. When Bitcoin's transaction fees get high enough, people are going to start looking for other options. The same thing keeps happening to Ethereum too, where the block space is just too fucking expensive because there's not enough of it. It's simple supply and demand. This is why originally Bitcoin didn't have a block size limit. It's because it was supposed to be quote unquote democratic, as in the transactions are processed as received. And it made things like zero confirmation a lot easier to do. But hey, we gotta have our cake and eat it too, right? Anyway, I've got a series of articles that I want to get to today, and I think this is probably the best place to start. And so here it is. It's on Reuters.com. U.S. cybersecurity firm Fireye discloses breach, theft of hacking tools. And this is by Christopher Bing and Joseph Men, so double penis. Fireye, one of the largest cybersecurity companies in the United States, might as well have been a big-ass target on their heads, said on Tuesday that it had been hacked, likely by a government, and that an arsenal of hacking tools used to test the defenses of its clients had been stolen. The hack of Fireye, a company with an array of contracts across the national security space, both in the United States and its allies, is among the most significant breaches in recent memory. The company's shares dropped 8% in after-hours trading. The Fireye breach was disclosed in a public filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, citing CEO Kevin Mandia. Oh, so it could have happened as much as 120 days ago. A blog post by the company here said, quote, "Red Team tools were stolen as part of a highly sophisticated, likely government-backed hacking operation that used previously unseen techniques." It's not clear exactly when the hack initially took place, but a person familiar with the events said the company has been resetting user passwords over the past 2 weeks. Beyond the tool theft, the hackers also appeared to be interested in a subset of Fireye customers, government agencies. The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Representative Adam Schiff, said that he would ask for more information. Quote, "We have asked the relevant intelligence agencies to brief the committee in the coming days about this attack, any vulnerabilities that may arise from it, and actions to mitigate the impacts. There is no evidence that Fireye's hacking tools have been used or that client data was stolen, but the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Microsoft Corp are helping to look." Quote, "The FBI is investigating the incident, and preliminary indications show an actor with a high level of sophistication consistent with a nation state." That doesn't mean shit. Said Matt Gorham, Assistant FBI Director for the Cyber Division. A former Defense Department official familiar with the case said that Russia was high on the list of suspects in the run-up to the U.S. elections, where Russian interference was a prime concern. U.S. officials exposed some Russian hacking techniques. Other security companies have been successfully hacked before, including Bit9, Kaspersky Lab, and RSA, underscoring the difficulty in keeping anything digital away from the most sophisticated hackers. Quote, "Plenty of similar companies have also been popping like that, or have been popped like this," said a Western security official who asked not to be named. Quote, "The goal of these operations is typically to collect valuable intelligence that can help them defeat security countermeasures and enable hacking of organizations all over the world," said Dmitry Alperovich, co-founder and former chief technology officer at top rival CrowdStrike. Fireye disclosing what happened and which tools were taken is, quote, "helping to minimize the chances of others getting compromised as a result of this breach." Fireye said it has been working to shore up defenses against its own tools with different software makers, and it released countermeasures publicly. Those showed that the tools uses modified versions of public programs, said Vincent Liu, chief executive of security firm Bishop Fox and a former National Security Agency analyst, i.e. NSA. The stolen computer kit targets a myriad of different vulnerabilities in popular software products. Fireye CEO Mandia wrote that none of the Red Team tools exploited so-called, quote, zero-day vulnerabilities, meaning the relevant flaws should already be made public. Past hacking attacks on government agencies and contractors have captured such higher value hacking tools, and some of those tools have been published, wrecking their effectiveness as defenses are put in place. Both the NSA and CIA have been burned in this way, have burned this way in the past decade, with Russia a key suspect. Russian and Iranian tools have been hacked and published more recently. Private surveillance software makers have also been targeted. Experts said it is hard to estimate the impact of a tool leak, that focuses on known software vulnerabilities, but it could make attackers' jobs easier. Exploitation tools in the wrong hands will lead to more victimization of people who don't see it coming, and there's already enough problems like that, said Paul Ferguson, threat intelligence principal at security company Gigamon. Quote, "We don't really need more exploitation tools floating around making it easier. Look at ransomware. Whenever private companies learn of a vulnerability in their software products, they often offer a patch or upgrade that nullifies the issue, but many users do not install these patches at once, and some do not for months or longer. And some of those are government agencies." Oh, man. You know, I've said it on this show a multitude of times, and it was my understanding that for the longest time, this was like an operating principle with regard to programming, is you do not want to create tools that you do not want used against you. You know, it's like, it's one thing to know you can write it, and it's another, and to get it to function, you can do that. Okay, that's wonderful. We already know you can do that. But if you're building tools specifically to do that, that there's a likelihood that if you use it on somebody, that you might really piss them off, enough to motivate them to try and hack you, steal the tool that you used against them, and then use it against you. And I think the last time we were talking about it like this, we were talking about Stuxnet, and that was something that was used against Iran's nuclear centrifuges, and it fucked up their refining process of, I guess it was uranium or plutonium or one of those fucking. Anyway, point being that it fucked their stuff up. And it fucked their stuff up in a facility that was supposedly completely air-gapped. And it was done via a USB drive, I believe, being introduced from the outside. But the point being that, you know, that the hack happened, the tool was recovered, and then not so long afterward, we saw something similar happening in the wild. Yeah. So, now we get into the meat of things. And this one again is on Reuters.com. And this is authored on December 13th, 2020 at 10:51 a.m. Updated 35 minutes ago. And this is by Christopher Bing. And let me get a sip of water here. Getting a little gravelly. Washington, Reuters. Oh, yes, penis. Hackers backed by a foreign government have been monitoring internal email traffic at the U.S. Treasury Department and an agency that decides Internet and telecommunications policy, according to people familiar with the matter. Quote, "The United States government is aware of these reports, and we are taking all necessary steps to identify and remedy any possible issues related to this situation," the National Security Council spokesperson Tom Elliott, my apologies there. There is concern within the U.S. intelligence community that the hackers who targeted the Treasury Department and the Commerce Department's National Telecommunications and Information Administration used a similar tool to break into other government agencies, according to 3 people briefed on the matter. The people did not say which other agencies. Oh, I could assure you that at least one of them was part of the DHS. The hack is so serious, it led to a National Security Council meeting at the White House on Saturday, said one of the people familiar with the matter. The hack involves the NTIA's Office software, Microsoft Office 365, staff emails, and the agency were monitored by hackers for months, sources said. A Microsoft spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The hackers are, quote, highly sophisticated and have been able to trick the Microsoft platform's authentication controls, according to a person familiar with the incident, who spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not allowed to speak to the press. Quote, this is a nation state, said a different person briefed on the matter. We just don't know which one it is yet. I don't believe you. A full scope of the hack is unclear. The investigation is still in its early stages and involves a range of federal agencies, including the FBI, according to 3 people familiar with the matter. The FBI, Homeland Security Department's Cybersecurity Division, known as CISA, and U.S. National Security Agency did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Oh, I can assure you, it wasn't the fucking IRS. You know, these guys weren't trying to find anybody else's tax returns or some shit like that. Yeah, very, very interesting. Let me see if there's any links on this thing, because I'd like to actually read the report itself, if at all possible. Let's see, hackers go blah. Yeah, I would imagine that from what they have disclosed here, that they're changing out passwords and email addresses. So I would imagine that somewhere along the line, our favorite soft target, customer service agents, were directly involved. And I cannot enunciate this enough. If it is involved in any way, shape, or form with a bank account, with a physical address, with a phone number, in direct association with a person's identifying information, such as their social security number or their driver's license number, any of these official little tags that are stuck to us, if there is an agent, somebody who talks on a phone with people, somebody, and i.e. the general public, or even internally, if they talk to people and they are in charge of something that gives them access to any of those articles of information, you need to fucking pay those people properly. Because if you don't, they're not going to fucking pay attention to their job. And they're just going to be a big-ass security hole. I mean, I watched it myself, man. The fucking level of apathy that I saw in the customer service agency that I was with, they just don't understand. You know, they don't put it together until their own shit gets hacked. You know, like some boyfriend ganks their phone or some shit like that, and all of a sudden it makes sense to them. Oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe it's not such a good idea to try and monetize other people's information. Or maybe it's not such a good idea to be a fucking asshole and give people information, you know, like when they're asking you your name or something like that, they should be asking you, not telling you. You know, it's like I've had a number of customer agents that would be like, Frank, and I'd be like, you know, yeah, this is Frank. I mean, come on now. You know, is this Frank? Is this Frank Dashwood? Oh, yes, it's Frank Dashwood. You have now failed. You have failed. Your shit is compromised. I mean, maybe I'll get lucky, and the customer service on the agents, on the customer agent in charge of this or handling this call will like figure it out and be like, oh, nah, maybe that's not such a good idea. Yeah, I can't give you that information. You know, I mean, that's within their power to do. And I know, I did the job. But anyway, you know, if they're handling any financial information, anything like that, you have to fucking pay them enough. And you have to fucking train them enough. You can't just put them up on a phone after a couple days of training. They're going to do that stupid shit. Where somebody will steal my cell phone, call my cell phone service provider, you know, call up Sprint, Be like, hey, this is Frank Dashwood. I'm having some issues with my shit. You know, I need to reassign my address, my physical address, to my account, because you know I'm getting to where I gotta move, and I got another address that I'm going to, so I need to go ahead and submit that right now and have that changed on my things. Oh, and by the way, yeah, you know, I just changed bank accounts. But I'm going to need the information that I gave you for the previous bank account. Dude, all kinds of information. If the person on the fucking phone isn't paying attention, isn't doing their due diligence and confirming that the person that they're fucking talking to is the person whose fucking records they're looking at, if they're not doing their due diligence, this kind of thing happens. You know what I mean? Get access to your phone and get access to your bank account. I'll get access to your security information for getting in the front door. I'm going to sit at your terminal, log in with the information that I scammed off the customer service agent or the help desk agent or the whatever, and bing bang a boom. And I mean, I know it's not that quote-unquote simple, but these guys make it sound like, you know, you need to be a fucking nation state to do this stuff. No. You just need to be smart and fucking coordinated. Continuing on. And I think we're going to see more of these now that old Fireye and several other quote-unquote security agencies, cyber security agencies, are getting their shit dumped and hacked. Central points of fail. And so here it is, Coindesk.com, Google down, the perils of centralization. And this is authored on December 14th at 1:56 p.m. PST. And this is by Benjamin Powers, so yes, penis. Google was down for only an hour, but Monday's outage served as a stark reminder of how much modern existence online depends on the centralized search engine colossus. From Gmail to Google Calendar to YouTube, and even Google's two-factor authentication, which is probably the real target, the outage temporarily ground online work to a halt for many, including publications that would have otherwise been reporting on the outage. It was a jarring reminder of the hidden costs of the easy-to-use systems that permeate the web and just how taxing or debilitating they can be when the head of the many-tentacled beast that is Google nods off even for just an hour. Quote, if an internet giant like Google can suffer such a major attack, denying millions of users access to basic internet services, it just goes to show that under the surface of these shiny web interfaces we see, internet infrastructure actually hangs on a delicate and vulnerable balance, said Jaro Satkovic, head of production at Mysterium Network, an open-source Web 3.0 project focused on decentralizing the internet. Google down and out. According to a tweet from Google, the company suffered a, quote, authentication system outage that essentially rendered a wide variety of servers useless for about 45 minutes because the system was unable to confirm users were who they said they were. Oh, shit. It seemed largely to affect Europe and to extend well beyond what people might normally associate with not being able to get into their email. On Android smartphones, for example, native apps like Google Maps ceased to work, and internet-connected devices through Google Home were seemingly also down. Talbiri, co-founder and security researcher at Zengo, the cryptocurrency wallet company, said that, in theory, a decentralized solution that would have allowed users to authenticate their credentials with Google using other services might have solved that problem. Such solutions do exist, however they were, quote, probably not aligned with Google's business model and therefore not implemented, he continued. The blackout shows just how much control and how far-reaching the effect of having a single point of failure in a centralized system can be. Services and features critical to daily life were suddenly gone, with users having no idea and much less control when they might be back. Control over when they might be back. And there we go. Quote, Google infrastructure is distributed with services across all continents, but those depend on each other and are controlled centrally, said Satkovic. They are upgraded centrally. They talk to each other not just by using the same protocol, but through a shared software that is operated by the same employees centrally. Limits of centralization. While the Google outage appears to be due to internal technical issues, the news comes on the heels of one of the more sophisticated cyber attacks the U.S. government has seen in years, with allegedly nation-state directed hackers infiltrating the U.S. Treasury and Commerce departments through a standard remote update by SolarWinds that injected malicious code into a variety of systems. SolarWinds, which develops software for customers to manage their networks, has hundreds of customers using Fortune 500, including Fortune 500 companies and other government agencies. These include the Secret Service, the U.S. Defense Department, the Federal Reserve, Lockheed Martin, and the National Security Agency. The update allowed the hackers to then access internal emails and various agencies via Microsoft Office 365. It's unclear what else they were able to do or access. In a rare move, the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security issued Emergency Directive 21-01, which, quote, calls on all federal civilian agencies to review their networks for indicators of compromise and disconnect or power down SolarWinds Orion products immediately. These single points of entry, automatic updates controlled by a central actor, and the swath of disruption that they can enable are part and parcel of Web 2.0, which relies largely on central actors to maintain systems, control access to them, and ensure they run smoothly. But that is siloed power in the hands of a few massive centralized companies such as Google, internet service providers, and others. And to that point, that right there is a product of net neutrality. They changed the rules. The FCC started making rules about who could be an ISP and who couldn't be an ISP, and what kind of services you could provide, and put this top-down management mentality on all media providers. And the fact of the matter is that they really don't have any business doing that. The airwaves are ours. If we build the fucking network, it's ours. It doesn't belong to the government. They don't have any authority to fucking tell you how to run your hardware. But this is the problem. You know, back in like 1995 to, or I want to say like 1994 to around 2000, there were dozens of ISPs available out there. There were a few free ones that they didn't care that you were using their servers. But because they didn't have all the little internal checks that the DHS and NSA and all those guys wanted, so they could snoop every single fucking packet going over the network, because they didn't have that and they wouldn't implement it, the FCC just licensed them out of being able to operate. It's like, oh yeah, you gotta deal with your state now, and they're gonna charge you for licenses, and they're gonna make you register, and you're gonna have to get all kinds of insurance, and you're gonna have to follow our security mandates to the minute. You know, that is what's created this fucking dependency on quote-unquote centralized companies such as Google. Anyway, continuing on. Pushing back on power. While there is some early pushback, including antitrust cases being brought against Google and Facebook in the U.S., there have also been extensive lobbying efforts on behalf of those behemoths to maintain their power in places like the European Union. Quote, "My personal opinion is these companies are just old-fashioned monopolies." No, they aren't. You use their services willingly, asshole. And that was Canadian-British tech blogger and science fiction writer Cory Doctorow when I spoke with him earlier this year. Quote, "Their growth is not because of the magical properties of data or network effects or whatever. It's just because they bought all of their competitors, which is a thing that used to be illegal and is now legal." Yeah. Decentralized architecture prevents this form of centralized control by design, making sure no one person can make a call, decision, or update or mistake that might affect millions or even billions of people. CoinDesk has reported on the implications of this that play out in the public discourse, such as the debate over content moderation on social media, which some see as corporate censorship. But in the case of Google, such centralized constructions of data and power showed the long shadow these companies cast over seemingly mundane and increasingly critical parts of our lives. Beery said at Zengo they are not, quote, religious about decentralization. Rather, he believes a hybrid model, smartly combining the robustness and security of decentralization and the simplicity often associated with centralized services, is the best solution for customers in many cases. What's next is continuing a debate to decide whether that remains the case. Quote, "Explaining the advantages of decentralization to end users is usually harder, as these advantages of greater stability and robustness do not manifest themselves on a daily basis," said Beery. Quote, only in time of failures such as the one experienced by Google users today are the merits of decentralization highlighted. Yeah. I think that this is demonstrating a case for a lot of those storage networks that we've talked about on this show. That absolutely we need alternatives to things like Google and the US dollar for that matter. But it's only because we are coming into an age that is run more and more by data and information. Not necessarily all of it is useful, but some of it's downright dangerous. And if you're not properly siloing it, you got to make sure that it doesn't actually exist, or that you're not using it. You're not using it on other people. It's been my feeling on this stuff that specifically cybersecurity, that 9 times out of 10 when the US is experiencing some sort of failure or lapse in its security, it's actually in response to an act initiated by some government agency within the United States. Whether it be DHS or NSA or CIA or the Pentagon or Homeland Security or, one of these entities doing something somewhere that they probably shouldn't have been doing. It was probably illegal as fuck, but they were doing it out of quote-unquote national security concerns. And they fucked up people's lives. And so somebody wants some fucking payback for that, obviously, right? And invariably, you're going to find more and more people that are very, very competent at using the internet. And very, very competent at programming. And they will hit your soft points, and it will make it look like there's 8 billion of them, I mean, it's possible to make it look like there's a lot more actors in action than there actually are. Bots and all kinds of stuff out there that make it possible to, present a much larger front than actually exists. And it's one of the reasons I don't take these people seriously when they say, it had to be state-backed. For all you know, it's some kid of some computer scientist that, ended up getting fired because, somewhere along the line somebody managed to get a hold of his credentials, not from him. And they managed to do it in a very clandestine and secretive and secretive way. And they utilized it for a hack in the place that the guy worked. Well, a computer-savvy guy will probably have computer-savvy children. And so, it's along the lines of that idea that if you kill somebody's dad, that you actually create a terrorist as opposed to doing anything to stop terrorism. It's along those same lines, is that the force that's utilized, the tool that's utilized to do harm to one person will most likely develop some sort of resistance utilizing that same tool in return. Now, am I saying that this is a justified thing? No. Because again, it disrupts people's lives, and people's lives get fucked up over it. Unnecessarily, completely innocent people getting impacted over it. But that's a threat that, I find people just do not take seriously enough, and we keep having to pay for these lessons over and over and over again, where we run into it. And again, this is one of the reasons why Bitcoin even exists. It's to show us a different security model. We don't necessarily have to be using it specifically and solely to transact monetary value, but we can use it to create a network that can be utilized instead of the current network that we have, that's maintained and ran more or less from the top down by government organizations, and not necessarily to the benefit of the market or the users themselves. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down to some music. And where do I want to go? Well, either by disuse, misuse, whatever, I think that the older systems will be going down and newer systems will be coming up. And so here we go, Static X down here on Coin Metal. And that was 12-Foot Ninja with Kingdom. And so, as far as what we're going to go into next, I'm trying to find this one I had open. Got like 8 billion windows and 8 billion tabs. And no, it's not it. Here we go. And again, this is one of those big dangers of centralization. We were talking about a few that were supposedly blamed on, or are blamed on a Russian entity. Whether or not that's true is, it's anybody to decide. Anyway, this is on the blog crypto.com. Nexus Mutual founder's personal wallet address gets attacked. Funds worth more than $8 million get drained. And this is by Yogita Khatri. My apologies, ma'am. But no penis. And this is authored on December 14th, 2020 at 7:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you very much, Yogita, for being very, very specific as to when you wrote this thing. Appreciate that. Hugh Karp, the founder of DeFi insurance protocol Nexus Mutual, has experienced an attack that resulted in a loss of more than $8 million. Nexus Mutual announced the news via a Twitter post on Monday, saying that Karp's personal wallet address was attacked and drained by a member of the protocol. The address contained 370,000 NXM Nexus Mutual tokens, currently worth about $8.25 million. Karp told the block that the attacker tricked him into approving one transaction, somehow gained access to his computer, and altered his MetaMask extension. Oh, Jesus Christ. Quote, "Then when I was performing an unrelated transaction, MetaMask popped up with a spoof transaction, and I subsequently approved it, thinking it was the transaction I was intending to conduct. Instead, it was transferring NXM to their wallet," said Karp. Whatever, dude. Nexus Mutual is unaffected and nobody else is impacted, he said. "My private keys are still secure. The attacker didn't get access to them. They tricked me into signing a spoof transaction," said Karp. He characterized the attack as, quote, "a very nice trick and definitely next level stuff." Nexus Mutual said the attacker completed their Know Your Customer processes 11 days ago and then switched membership to a new address on December 3rd. The protocol developer added that an investigation is ongoing to identify the attacker and how they operated. Karp said the attacker asked the attacker to return the funds, to drop all investigation, and get $300,000 in the bounty. "Some of the stolen funds are already on the move," said Nexus Mutual, adding that some are already being exchanged using decentralized exchange aggregator 1inch Exchange. Yep. That's what you get. That's what you get. You know, I can't say that I'm terribly sympathetic. He's using third-party software to manage his funds. Yeah, whatever. They're gonna get ganked. And I wanted to go a little bit further into this Nexus Mutual. This morning, Hugh Karp's personal address was attacked and drained by a member of the mutual. Only Hugh's address was affected in this targeted attack, and there is no subsequent risk to Nexus Mutual or any members. Initial investigation: a targeted personal attack on Hugh. Hugh's using a hardware wallet. The attacker gained remote access to his computer and modified the MetaMask extension, tricking him into signing a different transaction, which transferred funds to the attacker's own address. The attacker completed KYC 11 days ago, and then switched membership to a new address on Friday, December 3rd. The mutual is not impacted. The pool of funds and all systems are safe. Our investigation is ongoing to identify the attacker and how they operated. We welcome any assistance to stop the funds, which will most likely move quickly. The funds are currently held here. Gives us an address. Let's see. And so there are responses to this here. And Hever Castro says, "That's why it is better to use the Brave browser incorporated MetaMask wallet so that the user doesn't need to download any extension. However, your story is not complete. The user should have checked the address in the ledger before authorizing it." Yes. DN Directeur says, "Playing advocate of the devil here, but how can we be 100% sure it is not the same person, Hugh? I would like that to be answered before any corrective action is taken. How can someone get remote access to his PC? That's kind of far-fetched." Kind of. Let's see. Meteoroid says, with a RAT, pretty easily actually, if you're not careful, can be embedded in any malicious cookie or .jpeg file, etc. That's usually how hackers get to exchange wallets. Mark from Home says, can you please give one example where a cookie or a JPEG infected a computer with a rat? I've been in security for a few decades and have never heard of that, but I don't follow everything. I would be surprised if this is true, though. Let's see, Meteoroid says, pretty certain that is what happened with CoinMetro a few months ago, though they never disclosed the exact origin of the rat. I guess you're right, it's not exactly in the JPEG, but you can hide them in the EXIF data. Okay. And so there's a link to that, too. It's malware hidden inside JPEG EXIF headers. Interesting. Let's see. And Ducksplash says it's entirely possible to embed a rat using steganography. It takes much more skill than I would have, but it is certainly a thing. Personally, though, I think many of these DeFi hacks are cough, stage, and cough. I think you're absolutely right, dude. A lot of these guys are looking for high ROI, and the highest ROI is always, ganking the funds. I mean, or the easiest, rather. And I think this is, just poor security. If it is, in fact, a case of hacking, that somebody actually got into this dude's computer and somebody actually, managed to get around to hacking his funds, if that was a reality, I think I'd be far more concerned, honestly. I mean, but you go with Occam's razor here. What is more likely? That he knowingly sent the funds to an address of a third party, specific, or just a second party, specifically to abscond with the funds. I mean, it's $8 million. It's a lot of cheddar, I mean, if you had the opportunity to get that money and maybe be even recompensed, I mean, it took a direct action from him. That's one of the reasons why I say it's most likely that it was kind of a false flag attack. I mean, I'm just going with likelihoods here. I don't know the guy. For all I know, somebody, for whatever reason, he managed to disclose that he had access to this $8 million. and that's how this led to this particular quote-unquote attack or hack. But again, Occam's razor, guy ripped himself off, and there's some sort of insurance or whatever, and he's hoping that he's going to get to eat his cake and keep it too. But whether that's very likely, I don't see a whole lot of sympathy in the tenor of those responses, so I would say no. No. But I did want to get a little bit deeper into this one thing, and hopefully they'll actually let me see. Yes, they'll let me see this article. Cool. This one's on the Washington Post, and let's see, what date was this? This is December 14th, 2020 at 8:30 a.m. PST, and this is by Ellen Nakashima and Craig Timberg. So, yes penis and no penis. Russian government hackers breached the Treasury and Commerce departments along with other U.S. government agencies as part of a global espionage campaign that stretches back months, according to people familiar with the matter. Whatever. Officials are scrambling over the weekend to assess the nature and the extent of the intrusions and implement effective countermeasures, but initial signs suggested the breach was long-running and significant, the people familiar with the matter said. The Russian hackers, known as the nicknames APT-29 or Cozy Bear, are part of that nation's Foreign Intelligence Service, the SVR, and they breached email systems in some cases, said the people familiar with the intrusions, who spoken on the condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the matter. The same Russian group hacked the State Department and the White House email servers during the Obama administration. The FBI is investigating the campaign, which may have begun as early as spring and had no comments Sunday. The victims have included government, consulting technology, telecom, and oil and gas companies in North America, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, according to Fireye, a cybersecurity firm that itself was breached. The Russian embassy in Washington on Sunday called the reports of Russian hacking, quote, baseless. In a statement on Facebook, it said, quote, attacks in the information space contradict Russian foreign policy and national interests. Quote, Russia does not conduct offensive operations in the cyber domain. All of the organizations were breached through the update server of a network management system made by the firm SolarWinds, Fireye said in a blog on Sunday. The Federal Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency issued an alert Sunday warning about an, quote, active exploitation of the SolarWinds Orion platform from versions of the software released in March and June. Quote, CISA encourages affected organizations to read the SolarWinds and Fireye advisories for more information, and Fireye's GitHub page for detection countermeasures, the alert said. SolarWinds said Sunday in a statement that monitoring products it released in March and June of this year may have been surreptitiously weaponized in a, quote, highly sophisticated, targeted attack by a nation-state. Yeah, whatever. The company filed a document Monday with the Securities and Exchange Commission saying that, quote, fewer than 18,000 of its more than 300,000 customers may have installed a software patch enabling the Russian attack. It was not clear, the filing said, how many systems were actually hacked. The corporate filing also said that Microsoft's Office 365 email may have been, quote, an attack vector used by the hackers. Microsoft said in a blog post on Sunday that it had not identified any Microsoft product or cloud service vulnerabilities in its investigation of the matter. The scale of the Russian espionage operation appears to be large, said several individuals familiar with the matter. Quote, this is looking very, very bad, said one person. SolarWinds products are used by organizations across the world. They include all 5 branches of the U.S. military, the Pentagon, State Department, Justice Department, NASA, the Executive Office of the President, and the National Security Agency, the world's top electronic spy agency, according to the firm's website. Its clients also include the top 10 U.S. telecommunications companies. Quote, this is a big deal, and given what we know now about where breaches happened, I'm expecting the scope to grow as more logs are reviewed, said John Scott Railton, a senior researcher at Citizen Lab at the University of Toronto's Munk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy. Quote, when an aggressive group like this gets an open sesame to many desirable systems, they're going to use it widely. Fireye reported last week that it was breached and that hacking tools it uses to test clients' computer defenses were stolen. The Washington Post reported that APT29 was the group behind the hack. Fireye and Microsoft, which were investigating the breach, discovered the hackers were gaining access to victims through updates to SolarWinds Orion network monitoring software. Fireye said in its blog post without publicly naming the Russians. Reuters first reported the hacks of the Treasury and the Commerce Department Sunday, saying they were carried out by a foreign government-backed group. The SVR link to the broader campaign was previously unreported. The matter was so serious that it prompted an emergency National Security Council meeting on Saturday, Reuters reported. Quote, "The United States government is aware of these reports, and we are taking all necessary steps to identify and remedy any possible issues related to this situation," said National Security Council spokesperson John Ulyat. He did not comment on the country or the group responsible. At Commerce, the Russians targeted the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, an agency that handles internet and telecommunications policies. Reuters reported they've also been linked to attempts to steal coronavirus vaccine research. In 2014 and 2015, the same group carried out a wide-ranging espionage campaign that targeted thousands of organizations, including government agencies, foreign embassies, energy companies, telecommunications firms, and universities. As part of that operation, it hacked the unclassified email systems of the White House, the Pentagon's Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the State Department. Quote, "That was the first time we saw the Russians become much more aggressive, and instead of simply fading away like ghosts when they were detected, they actually contested access to the networks," said Michael Daniel, who was White House cybersecurity coordinator at the time. One of its systems in 2015 was the Democratic National Committee, but unlike a rival Russian spy agency, the GRU, which also hacked the DNC, it did not leak the stolen material. In 2016, the GRU military spy agency leaked hacked emails to the online anti-secrecy organization WikiLeaks in an operation that disrupted the Democrats' National Convention in the midst of a presidential campaign. The SVR, by contrast, generally steals information for traditional espionage purposes, seeking secrets that might help the Kremlin understand the plans and motives of politicians and policymakers. Its operators have also filched industrial data and hacked foreign ministries. Because the Obama administration saw the APT-29 operation as traditional espionage, it did not consider taking punitive measures, said Daniel, who is now president and chief executive of the Cyber Threat Alliance, an information sharing group for cybersecurity companies. Quote, "It was information collection, which is what nation-states, including the United States, do." He said, "From our perspective, it was more important to focus on shoring up defenses." But Chris Painter, State Department cybersecurity coordinator in the Obama administration, said even if the Russian campaign is strictly about espionage, there's no norm against spying. If the scope is broad, there should be consequences. Quote, "We don't just have to sit still for it and say, quote, good job," he said. Sanctions might be one answer, especially if done in concert with allies who were similarly affected, he said. Quote, the problem is there's not even been condemnation from the top. President Trump hasn't wanted to say anything bad to Russia, which only encourages them to act irresponsibly across a wide range of activities. At the very least, he said, quote, "You'd want to make clear to Russian President Vladimir Putin that this is unacceptable. The scope is unacceptable." So far, there is no sign that the current campaign is being waged for purposes of leaking information or for disruption of critical infrastructure, such as the electric grids. SolarWinds monitoring tool has extremely deep, quote, administrative access to a network's core functions, which means that hacking the tool would allow Russians to freely root around victim systems. APT-29 compromised SolarWinds so that any time a customer checked in to request an update, the Russians could hitch a ride on the weaponized update to get into a victim's system. Fireye dubbed the malware that the hackers used, quote, Sunburst. Monday may be a bad day for a lot of security teams, tweeted Dmitry Alperovich, a cybersecurity expert and founder of the Silverado Policy Accelerator think tank. So yeah, very, very interesting. Apparently this was like a multi-level hack, you know. They probably started with the security agency, then they utilized exploits that they gained from that hack and went forward. That's just my call on it. You know, they got the tools that they needed from Fireye, and then they've been utilizing those tools. But I think we got time for one more here. And this one I wanted to throw in there because you just have to. And this is on threatit.com. U.S. Treasury and Fireye hacks are the result of an attack on SolarWinds. And it's by ThreatIt staff, and this is authored December 14th, 2020. Foreign government-funded hackers have compromised the computer networks of U.S. software. Wait a minute. Hold on. There was something I was trying to look up specifically, and this isn't actually it. Damn it. I found one in here that was basically saying that the Russians were saying that it wasn't the result of their business. Let's see here, or that they had denied it. Where was it? Where is it? I know I had it linked here somewhere, and I could have swore it had the tab open. No, that's not it. Not Nexus. Well, I don't know. I think we kind of covered this in depth. You know, the fact is that trying to attribute a hack to a nation state these days it's as useless as trying to attribute a cryptocurrency to a specific country. I mean, unless they're explicitly stating it is theirs. But, you know, things like Bitcoin mining centralization. You know, people whine about that, and they think that, you know, China having a dominant percentage of the network is some big hit on Bitcoin. And it really isn't. It's a matter of the level of interest now. You know, it's not a permanent or fixed thing. And that's another mistake that I think a lot of people make in this space, is that they assume Bitcoin is like some big brick. And it's not. It's more like a hollow cardboard box. And we can change the shape of a cardboard box a lot easier than we can a concrete brick. But the box or the brick itself is the product of what we mine. And so as long as the majority of the miners are enjoying an advantage from the way that they're currently mining and the implementations of Bitcoin that they're mining, then that's what they're going to do. And if it's cheaper to do it in China, that's where they're going to do it. However, these are not the only metrics that people consider. And I think in the long run, the fact that these mining operations can be anywhere, that they will be in places that they weren't previously, and we're going to find out really quick as far as like how profitable that really is. You know, I mean, like Siberia and fucking Antarctica and, you know, places like that they've put mining operations to take advantage of the cold. But even that introduces all kinds of issues with regard to logistics. You know, getting supplies to and from that facility. You know, one of your machines goes down, you got to replace it. That's downtime that you gotta wait for it to come in the mail or whatever. You know, there's all kinds of like different incentives that drive mining. both in the coin itself and the availability of resources to be utilized in the network. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down with some music. And as far as where to go, we covered a lot of really good stuff today, but here we go. This is one we haven't played in a little while. Ace of Spades, Motorhead, here on Coin Metal. And that was Melvin's with Revolve. And it is with that I'd like to bring this episode to a close. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I have not picked one out. You know how I roll. But I've been saving Meshuggah, and I think I might be able to squeeze one in, but their songs are a bit too long for that, I think. Let's see. I had another one picked. Oh, I know what I'll play. And this one might be a little bit long, but I've been dying to play this one. And so, where is it? Oh my god, I don't have it in here. Holy crap. How the hell did that happen? My favorite Prong album, and for whatever reason I don't have it in my collection. What the fuck? That's weird. Alright. Well, let's go with this one. Inner Being, Last Dance, here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening. Good night.